Mike Bailey, we are on record as knowing that I was first on the train. I was there at the PWG match. That's a great place to start, I think. I think that was the first live experience I ever saw you, and you were taking on Kenny Omega. And now, funny enough, here we are so many years later. You're about to take on Kenny Omega again, this time in a triple threat match with Ricochet for the international title. How does it feel to go from there to here? It's been a lot going on, but how do you feel to arriving in AEW?
Man, it feels absolutely amazing. I mean, it's been a goal of mine for the longest time, and I think the tagline "AEW is where the best wrestle" is so true now more than ever. I mean, PWG back in 2016 was the best option you had in North America to see the best version of professional wrestling, of real, raw professional wrestling that was done for the audience and not just one person's vision of professional wrestling, but really a global, unified, personification of the art form. And I think that has become PWG. And if you look at, AEW, and if you look at all the people that were in PWG at the time, a lot of them are,
they're here.
They're either at the top of pro wrestling or they're in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this has been kind of a 10-year journey if you trying to get back to Kenny Omega. Of course, you had the match in 2015 at PWG with him. But, you've been in a lot of same places he's been. Also Canadian wrestler, wrestled for DDT, video game fan, Final Fantasy fan. So this is kind of like a dream come true, right?
So it is. And I want to say that wrestling him on Sunday at Dynasty will be a full circle moment. But I don't think, wrestling happens in more of a spiral than a circle, because I have a feeling that that's going to be the one of many, many meetings. But if you look at the history of Kenny Omega, I mean, he's someone that I was looking at even before we wrestled in PWG, but even more so after, right? The way, his career kind of went, where he was in Canada and the pro wrestling that was happening near him was not really what he wanted to do. So he took it upon himself, right? He made this video, which I'm sure you guys saw, of a video that he sent to DDT, where he was basically wrestling another local wrestler just out in the wilderness, which was perfect for DDT at the time, and set that in because he wanted to go there, because he had a vision for what he wanted out of professional wrestling, and it wasn't what was being presented to mainstream audiences. It was specific, it was artful, it was different, it was a lot closer to what you see in video games than what you see in on American television.
Yeah.
And then going over to DDT, and he got to do that, and you can see how that changed his way of looking at pro wrestling. And I got to feel that when I wrestled Kenny in PWG. I really saw that his brain worked differently from any other pro wrestler that I had ever faced before. And then when I got to DDT, just about 6 months after wrestling Kenny, and being in that locker room and seeing how everyone goes about pro wrestling, really made me understand, okay, this is a more exciting version of professional wrestling than what I was familiar with, than what I had even imagined, just the way people were able to look at it. Because being with DDT for the 5 years that I was really like a life-changing experience, especially in the way the art is presented, right? Because in America, I feel like, especially if you only looked at what was on television back then, before AEW, was so incredibly specific and so homogenous, and then getting to DDT and doing a show on just blue gym mats in a shopping mall in front of an audience that did not care to see pro wrestling at all, that didn't know it was going to be there. But then, just because people understand how to translate pro wrestling, half choreographed, half improvised fight scenes for an audience, and still make those entertaining to a public that did not even want to see it, really changed the way I look at professional wrestling. And I feel like Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and everyone brought that to AEW, and that's why it again, and getting to face Kenny in AEW just feels right in that regard.